When looking forward to retirement, we can be certain that we'll have more flexibility and more time to do things that simply weren't possible before. Travelling can be one of those things, and one way to do that is to embrace life on the open road. The United States of America offers an extraordinary array of landscapes and climates, from the snow-capped Rockies to the humid swamps of the Deep South, from the bustling, cosmopolitan culture of the big cities to the vast open plains of the Midwest. Alan Wilson explains why Bon Voyage decided that American holidays would be their main focus, and why it's such a popular destination in retirement.
Well, we go right back to 1979, and originally we were going to be a travel agency selling other people's holidays. But within the first year or so of starting up, we developed a specialisation in the US and Canada, which was just becoming popular as a holiday destination. And from that time to this, nearly 35 years, we've been totally devoted to holidays across the Atlantic.
The Bon Voyage team spend a lot of time on the road researching, refining holiday ideas so we can keep it fresh and inspire our customers with lots of choice. Nothing with us is pre-packaged or off the shelf. Every customer comes in, it's a fresh start. We really try to get to know them, what they want, their requirements, what they really want to experience. A lot of these people have saved their whole working lives for this. And that's what we love, the challenge of building a truly aspirational holiday. So we really get to understand what they want to do, what they want to achieve and experience, and then put it together again from scratch. We start from there.
I think for many people approaching retirement or in retirement, the opportunities that are now available to them are much more significant than they were to perhaps their parents' generation. And if you've grown up with the expansion of long-haul travel, you will have realised over the last 20 or 30 years that long-haul travel is no longer a luxury, it's a must-have. And for many people, it's something that they want to do every year or every other year, to experience other cultures rather than just flop on a beach and drink the same Australian lager that you can buy at home. To travel, to experience, to enrich is part of people's routine now. Once a year, they're going to head off and they're going to experience something new. And so destinations such as Canada and the United States have so much to offer. The United States is not McDonald's. That really isn't the United States. It's part of the culture. And of course, to visit the first McDonald's restaurant in California is actually quite an interesting thing to do. But rather than go to McDonald's, you go to Arno's restaurant in New Orleans and eat oysters Rockefeller. That is a life-enriching experience. I think what we're seeing now is people wanting to experience the things that they've had on the bucket list. They want the shock of the familiar. They want to walk down the same roads that they've seen in movies. They want to experience Monument Valley that they first saw in a Western when they were a kid. And to actually be on a horse in Monument Valley is an astonishing experience, and one that you'll never forget. When people are approaching that point of retirement and they're thinking, what haven't I done? They start thinking about the great road trip, the 2,000 miles from Chicago to LA on Route 66, maybe even on a Harley. That sort of thing is becoming amazingly popular. As people start to empty the nest, as the kids go off to college and people have disposable income and they still have a bucket list of things that they'd like to tick off, we are starting to see those sorts of adventures being planned with us.
With the vast size of the USA and Canada, the possibilities really are endless. The great thing about retired travelers, they've got the luxury of time. So they're not necessarily tied to one geographical area or one type of holiday experience.
My name's Pat Kelly and I'm a retired barrister.
And my name is Michael Kelly and I'm a retired insurance salesman. I thought exactly that. What am I going to do with my time? Pat was still working then, and I thought, well, I can't play golf every day. It sounds, everybody says when you play golf, you improve your golf. But then you get to a point when you run out of things to do. There's only so much decoration you can do, so much gardening you can do. But the worst time was the winter months. Having said that, I was lucky when I retired that my daughter was due to be married in probably 2 months after I retired, and we had family coming over from New Zealand, so I had a lot of organisation to do. So the early months were fine, and then it was winter, and you think to yourself, oh my God, you know, I'm sitting around the house doing nothing. I can't do anything. The weather doesn't allow you to go out and do the garden, doesn't allow you to go out and play golf, doesn't allow you to go out and cycle.
I think it's a really big life change which people often aren't prepared for. They think they are, but the reality is much different.
I know it's a cliche that about 60 is the new 40, etc., but we have no problem whatever with 75-year-olds and over undertaking trips that you would think were really quite adventurous, with a lot of activity, hiking, bicycling, that sort of thing, for all age groups.
Canada, again, is incredibly varied. So the East Coast, maritime Canada, is beautiful, rugged scenery. Then you have the sophisticated French cities. You have Niagara Falls, you've got Toronto, very, very interesting, diverse cities themselves. And then the middle of Canada tends to be less explored. There are plenty of things to explore in the middle of Canada, but what most people do is typically, if they want to see it, they see it from a train. And there are great trains that run from the east to the west through the Rocky Mountains.
We first came to Bon Voyage 1999, I think it was.
Something like that, yeah.
It was 1999, 92, because we'd been to America before, and we'd been for a night in a place called Naples in Florida, and we saw their brochure and they did exactly that. So they booked us up and they looked after us well after that. And I have to say, they're so charming, but their expertise is particularly good, particularly good.
I'm very impressed because I remember them starting up quite small, and you know, a fraction of the size it is now. But no, they're extremely good, and you feel that you can trust them. And we had quite a complicated trip to Canada with all sorts of, you know, deadlines to meet, boats to get, trains to get, and it went like clockwork basically. So no, they're very good. We're, you know, very impressed. And if ever we are going to have a trip that we can't organise all of it ourselves, we would come to them.
We will help them with online check-in. We help with, as I said, reservations in restaurants, information on national park opening times, just things that are time-consuming that we know offhand from our own experience.
We find that there are things that can trip people up. The propensity towards tipping, for instance, is something that can often puzzle people, and we prepare them for everything. Simple things like hiring a ar. There are little things that can come along and trip you up in that process, and we prepare people for every eventuality. In a shop, you think the magazine costs $3.99. Actually, it costs $4.23 because there's 7% sales tax, and that varies from one state to the next.
The history, I know people in this country chuckle about Americans' claim to history, but we do have it, and it is actually really interesting. And all the different types of people, from the East Coast to the down-home people in the Midwest and Southern hospitality. And then, of course, you've got the Hollywood jet-setters out in California. So you've got every kind of person, every bit of history, and some fantastic adventures in between.
As people have been to America a few times, they are looking for a different kind of experience. Certainly accommodation I've seen being booked as the years have passed by have changed from your Best Westerns to now some beautiful B&Bs, boutique hotels, ranches. It's, you know, it's something quite unique.
I mean, you've got places like New Mexico, which is very the American Indian history and heritage, which is such a contrast to places like New York City, which actually is like a lot like London, becoming very much a melting pot. You will sometimes struggle to hear American accents in that part of New York. And then you've got the quintessential Cape Cod and Eastern Seabourn places, which again, very much compare that against Nevada and the big wide open spaces. The west of America never ceases to amaze me. As you just get, it's just pure wide open spaces. Somewhere like Meteor Crater, this giant hole in the earth surrounded by nothing but desert all around it. And it's where I feel you really have a bit of a reality check. It's like, you know what? We are so insignificant in the world compared to nature and what's out here. And nowhere to me illustrates that better than the western part of America.
People obviously want to do their own research. That's half the fun of going on holiday, is kind of getting ideas yourself. But then they, with such a big holiday, and you know, if you're only going somewhere once in a lifetime, you want to get it right. And that's what we can help them with. And I think the internet is great for finding things, but it's how to match it all together and get the right balance. You know, you don't want to be traveling from A to B and spending, you know, 8 hours in a car. You know, you want to get the right balance for that and right pace.
Join us after the break as we find out more about the exciting opportunities to be discovered across America.
Your perfect holiday to the USA or Canada tailor-made. Road trips like iconic Route 66 or the rugged California coastline. Hawaiian island hopping, Mississippi River cruises, breathtaking national parks, luxury resorts and quaint New England inns. The possibilities are endless. Our friendly experts will create an American adventure tailored to your exact requirements. Visit bon-voyage.co.uk or call free now. Atoll protected.
Welcome back. We've been spending the day at Bon Voyage, finding out about transatlantic holidays and everything you need to know before you set foot on American soil. We join Kate Mee for more on the technical details and entry requirements when visiting the USA.
A lot of people get confused about the visa waiver system that they've got going on. Basically, what you need when you're from the UK, if you've got a British residency passport, is something called an ESTA. It's a visa waiver program. What it means is they just check you out before you go, they check your name, your dates of birth, make sure you haven't got any criminal convictions, and it's just a way for the US government to check everybody before they enter the States, so when you get there you don't have to worry, they've got it electronically for you, and it's only £9 per person. It's valid for 2 years, which is excellent. You can keep going back and using it, but it's just, it's something that can get quite confusing, but it's easy process at the end of the day. You can stay for 90 days, which is basically 3 months. You do have to leave the US, but you can return to the UK, maybe just spend a couple of weeks and then head back over if you wanted to as well. So it gives you a good 3 months of travelling. Or if you're retired and you've got property out there, if you want to, you can come back to the UK and keep going back every 3 months. So it's a really nice and easy process.
We insist that every client that travels with Bon Voyage takes comprehensive medical insurance, because there are all kinds of scare stories about the cost of medical care in the United States, and they're probably not exaggerated, to be fair. There are stories of people having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars because they've had one night in a hospital. That's why we insist on adequate medical cover. However, that said, if the need for medical cover or medical treatment while you're in the United States arises, there is no better place in the world to get ill, because yes, they may be expensive, but they are very good at what they do.
I'm sure that if we'd been on the trip to California that we were going to go on, had to cancel, and things had gone wrong, we could have rung them and they would have helped sort it out. I feel very confident about that.
We have a helpline, a 24-hour mobile number, so if anyone does need assistance, if there's any delays, bad weather, they're not left on their own, so they do have someone on hand here in the office that can talk them through, or at least look into it and then get back to them you know, with the right advice and help.
What we tend to advise is have a little bit of everything, really. Obviously, there's a big tipping system in the US, so you want to have some cash and you want to have some low dollar notes as well. So $1, $5, $10s here and there. A credit card is always good to use. What we do advise quite often is check with your bank. They do have great credit card deals with travelling, and it means that you don't have quite a big penalty or charges of interest on your card. Travellers' checks nowadays aren't accepted in most places, we will be honest, so they are phasing that process out. You do have something called a currency card though, which acts like a credit card. You load money onto it and it means that you don't have to carry lots of cash with you all the time. So I'd say, to sum up, a cash currency card, take some cash with you and always have a credit card on hand. You will need your credit card when you hire a car and when you check in at your hotels, as well as a deposit. So you've always got to have something like that with you.
I think the main difference for Britons traveling to the US is probably the driving. And one of the things we provide our guests is a full report on driving tips. Things like if a school bus stops in front of you, they have a stop sign that will come out from the side of the bus. So you must stop and you must wait for the kids to unload and the bus to continue. Another thing that often gets people are flashing red lights or flashing yellow lights. I've seen people at flashing yellow just continue to sit because they don't know. Flashing yellow, basically, it's kind of like a roundabout. It's stop and proceed with caution. Equally, too, are getting stopped by police. If it does happen, do not get out of your vehicle. You must stay in your vehicle, let the officer approach you. They get very twitchy in America if people start jumping out of vehicles. But the big thing is car size. Everybody in America drives big cars. And if you come to us and say, well, we just need a compact, I'm not going to let you do America in a compact. You will feel absolutely dwarfed by all the big vehicles, and you want to have a bit of power. I mean, not all of America is hilly, but if you're doing, 14-day driving itineraries through some of the mountainous areas, you're going to want a car with a bit of power, let's face it. And also, too, you're going to be spending a lot of time in that car, so you want it to be roomy and comfortable. But again, we provide a full set of driving tips, and it's just little cultural things. Americans love British people. We love to hear you talk, and you're going to hear people say, oh, I love your accent. Can you say that again? That's always something you're going to get.
I think it's really important to have ID with you whatever country you're in, just in case, especially if you want to get into any bars or restaurants and you do want to have any alcohol, because even if you're 40, they are going to check you. Driving licences, a British driving licence is an international driving licence, or it's qualified as international. So what you can do is just take that with you if you're not happy about your passport. It's got your birth date, it's got your picture on it, and most places will take that, so I wouldn't worry too much. And the great thing is now with currency, you're not travelling with your passport and your traveller's checks anymore. So in most cases, a driving licence is going to be absolutely fine. But again, just check with your hotel, your concierge, or with your agent before you go as well.
If it's medical needs, as far as if they need medication and they need refrigerator or they need a low floor or certain kind of requirements in the hotel, then we go out of our way to arrange that for them. We work closely with certain properties, or we know our suppliers over in America that can help with that. We phone ahead to make sure those arrangements are in place. Even when someone books 6 months in advance, we can still phone up a few days in advance to just check that those arrangements are there for them. Assistance on aircraft, we can help with that. And again, with things like transfers and ground arrangements, then we can make sure that all flows.
Then we start talking about the fact that if you want to go to Alcatraz, for instance, in San Francisco, well, that's got to be booked 4 or 5 months in advance. And what about a restaurant reservation in Yosemite National Park in the middle of August? These sorts of details, when we start talking them through, people realise that they actually do need help and guidance, and that's obviously where we come in.
San Francisco's got to be my favourite city. It's a place that's got a real heart to it. You can wander around and on your own, architecture, it's just everything about it. It's just really unique and friendly. Then I'd head out to Yosemite National Park, complete contrast. And as you approach that Sierra Nevada mountain range, the scenery just gets just more and more beautiful. So yeah, I'd head for the mountains.
You will find me in Las Vegas every day of the week, every month. I'm a huge fan of Las Vegas. There's just something about a place where no one judges you, and just for a few days you can break every rule. No one's going to judge you. It's absolutely over the top. It's wrong in so many ways, but that's what makes it right. I couldn't live there, and I probably wouldn't want to spend more than 4 or 5 days there, but I'll tell you what, you can make the most of Las Vegas in a short space of time. Absolutely love it. Chicago is very close to my hometown. Again, love Chicago. I don't think people realize it's almost still one of those hidden gems. It's like New York, all the cosmopolitan shows and shops and the great skyscrapers, but you've got Midwest friendly people there. So it just, for me, and the best pizza. You got to go to Chicago and have pizza. But that's another one of my favorite cities. And for the first time, I visited Hawaii only last year and fell in love, absolutely fell in love. And in fact, I'm planning a return later this year.
We are seeing these bucket list trips increasingly popular. People combining different destinations for different purposes. So they might spend a week cruising around California, up and down the California coast, and then head off to Hawaii for a week and explore different islands in Hawaii for various different experiences. So snorkeling with manta rays, or astonishing, amazing golf out in Hawaii. And people think perhaps of Hawaii as a beach destination. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's got great beaches. Don't get me wrong, they really are amazing beaches. But to go ziplining through the treetops, or to learn to surf, or to learn to hula dance, not my thing, but all kinds of experiences are there waiting for people. And when you get to that point in your life where you have the time, you have the resources, and you have the inclination to not just relax, just to continue experiencing life, then there are amazing experiences to be had.
Our generation, we were given the opportunity to retire before, in male 65 and the women 60. And so we were in a position where I think most of us, our health was good, so we wanted to keep that going. And I think previous generations retired at 65. They'd worked obviously all their life. A lot of the jobs were manual, etc., etc. So their health wasn't as good as perhaps as we are now. And there's other contributory things as well that kept us healthy, obviously.
One trip that I do remember vividly is a golfing trip to the Monterey Peninsula. This is a beautiful stretch of coastline in Northern California, and I was lucky enough to play golf at Pebble Beach. You've seen it in US Opens over the years, but to actually be able to tread the hallowed turf on a beautiful November day in shirt sleeves and to break 80 round there was one of the highlights of my life.
Planning for retirement can be exciting and daunting in equal measure, opening up as it does so much time to be used to best advantage. For many people, travelling can be a great way to spend later years, and the US is just one of so many possible destinations. Providing such diversity of sights and experiences, it's a marvellous option for travellers of all ages.